In this one, I'm going to try and touch up the scratches on my Two Brothers racing exhaust on my Softail Street Bob, and there's also a couple of things I want to show you on my Harley. So let's get to it. So if you've seen the video where I removed the fork gaiters, you would have seen that I took these panels off to get powder coated in gloss black. And as you can see, they've done a pretty nice job. You can see my reflection in the panels. I've also changed the tank sticker. I went with a gunmetal grey one. I thought the red one was a bit cheap and tacky. I wanted something a little more subtle, so I think the gunmetal grey emblem looks a hell of a lot better. And not only that, it ties in with the gunmetal grey strip there which runs around the tank. Another thing that I wanted to address was in my last video where I installed the forward controls. I installed this tab here which goes on the primary case, and there was a few comments saying, well, you've installed the tab on the front of the primary case, does one need to go on the back of the primary case? Well, Harley Davidson doesn't provide one which goes on the back, and that was a very good question. That was something that I didn't think about. And to be honest, when I took the mid-control gear selector shaft out, I didn't have a look into the primary case to see if there's a sleeve which runs in there, or whether that's an open hole which leads directly into the primary. So I'm going to take this tab out and have a look if there's a sleeve, or whether that hole leads straight into the primary case. So I can't really see in there, but sort of looks like it's a sleeve instead of leading directly into the primary case. But what I'm going to do just to test it is to get a zip tie and see if it drops down into the primary case. And it doesn't. There is a sleeve which is inserted inside the primary case there, and that's what the gear selector shaft runs through. So no dirt, grit or water is going to get in there if I don't cap off the back. So essentially the front cap is just for aesthetics. Alright, let's move on. So when I installed this Two Brothers racing exhaust, the kit comes with spacers which sit behind your mid controls, and when I removed the mid controls I found that it wasn't spaced out enough and it was wearing on the exhaust there. So I'm going to try and touch that up because that's annoyed me. And also when I installed the exhaust I got a couple of nicks here and there, so I'm going to see if I can touch them up. I haven't seen a lot of videos on YouTube as to what paint to use to touch up the black exhaust on Harleys, so I've just winged it, and I've bought some of this paint over here, and this is the Duplicolor high heat spray paint in black. So hopefully it's a close match to the colour of the exhaust, but even if it isn't 100%, I'm sure it's going to be less obvious than those scratches. Part of me wishes that I went with the stainless steel Two Brothers racing exhaust, but hey, I made that mistake and went with a black one. Anyway, let's try and touch up these scratches. So you can see where I've touched up there and there. I know it's not 100%, but in my opinion, it's a hell of a lot better than those scratches. They're pretty obvious. From a distance, I can't notice those scratches, whereas before they were quite obvious to me. So I know it's not the correct way, and if you want to be meticulous and a perfectionist, take the exhaust off and get it resprayed. I didn't want to take the exhaust off and have to reinstall it and pay for it to get professionally sprayed, so I just went with this option. Call me dodgy, but am I happy with it? Yes. But anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.